The Houston Texans are traveling to London, where apparently the Jaguars just live all the time because everyone can't stop talking about how this is a Jaguars home game. And this is a rematch of a game that was a lock of the week for us earlier in the season when Minshew Mania was just beginning. He was a 9-point underdog in Houston. That game ended up a whopping 12-13. It was really terrible. And now Minshew Mania is in full swing. Jaguars are, in London, and so they're now favored against the Texans. I think a good bit of this really is how injured the Texans are, right? I mean, it's
gone the way of the Jaguars since this opened.
They've got Watt out, both Hopkins and Fuller. I think Fuller's actually doubtful. Mm-hmm. Hopkins questionable. Laramie Tunsil, for all of his turnstileness,
has been better this year.
Is also questionable, though. Like, all these things.
Yeah. O'Brien said he's probably going to play, but
But if he's not 100% and you've got, that defensive line, like the Jaguars are a team that will take advantage of those weaknesses. And the Texans don't have much of a defense. So those are my counterpoints to start it off. Mm-hmm. Here's the other point, though. Our guy, Deshaun Watson. We talk about how great Deshaun Watson is. I got roasted, by the way, by the Green Bay Theliacs. I tried to tweet something out about how Deshaun Watson isn't appreciated enough and compared him to Aaron Rodgers. And of course, it's like, Wisconsin comes out of their hole to tell me how great Aaron Rodgers is. Yeah. But Deshaun Watson is not being valued highly enough. He's 18-1 to win the MVP. You watch him play and you go, there's no way this guy should be below Christian McCaffrey in terms of the MVP chances, valued by the market.
Yeah. One interesting thing here, which I think will help us because we like the Texans here, right? And anytime we're almost always on the other side of Deshaun Watson for some reason, but here we're on his side. Actually, the only other time we were on Watson, I think the last 2 years, was against Jacksonville in Jacksonville. This is an under game. It's open at 47. It's 46.5 now. We'd still think there's some it's about break even on the under, but the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in London, it's going to rain. They don't cover that field, right? There's no roof.
It's called a pitch.
Yeah, it's a pitch. Mm-hmm. And so this is going to be a little bit sloppy. And the thing that would worry me if I'm a Jaguars fan is that Gardner Minshew, his shoulder has gotten progressively more injured as the season has progressed. Now, he's Chuck Norris, so he's going to play, but how effective can he be, right? He's been a guy that has been able to steer a ship pretty well against some bad teams. Mm-hmm. The Jets last week, obviously Denver, they've been impressive, but this is a whole different class. You're playing a quarterback who's going to be one of the league's best players for the next decade. And to me, I just don't think he can keep up. The other thing is, we talk about how injured Houston is. Jacksonville's not much better. I mean, they lost Jalen Ramsey, AJ Bouye. Jalen Ramsey held DeAndre Hopkins to less than 50 yards on 7 targets in the first matchup. Bouye is going to take that spot, and he's been good. Yep. Right? But he's no Jalen Ramsey. DJ Hayden has a shoulder injury. He's their nickel. And they're playing guys that are unproven on the other side. So their secondary isn't nearly as stout. And then guys like Calais Campbell, DJ Chark, they're questionable with injuries. So I think this is just a tough, there's just a lot of uncertainty everywhere else but the quarterback position. And the certainty at the quarterback position is Houston's better there. And they're not getting points, but they're only laying 1 here, I think 1.5.
I'm coming up with a new phrase. We always talk about better quarterback getting points, and this is now better quarterback, undervalued quarterback, favored by less than 3.
Well, and let's talk about just from a numerical perspective. In the first game, we got Jaguars +9. It closed about 7.5. Okay, so on a neutral field, you're talking about 4.5. Mm-hmm. This is a neutral field. Okay,
no, it's not.
People are going to say that Jacksonville is a home team here, but historically Jacksonville's only won these games by an average of about 1.25 points, 1.5 points. So let's give them that. Let's grant them that, even though I think it's
less if you take out the Titans.
It's BS, right? So you're talking about 3, right? has Minshew earned a 1.5 of value over the course of the last 6 weeks over Deshaun Watson, right? I think Watson going into the season, he was the most pressured quarterback in 2018. Since week 3, he's been 22nd. Since week 5, he's been in the bottom, the upper 20s. Like, I think Watson has probably gained more value as a betting entity in the last 6 weeks than Gardner Minshew has.
He should have.
Yeah. And so that's where we stand on. That's numerically speaking, that's why we like the Titans or the Texans in this spot, because like it's betting numbers, right? And I think the betting market overvalues Minshew here.
Here's the X factor to me in this game. You mentioned the weather being crappy and that this is an under game. And the Houston Texans are a far better running team. The reason why? They have a quarterback that runs. You want to know who's good at running football in the NFL? Look for the quarterbacks that run. The Baltimore Ravens being up number 1 with a bullet, but number 2 are the Houston Texans in terms of expected points generated per run play. They're the only other team that's positive, I believe, right now. So the Deshaun Watson running with the football when a lot of his other guys might be hurt or not playing is something that the Jaguars don't have, right? When the Jaguars pound Leonard Fournette into a puddle and, what is it, 3 yards and a cloud of mud, I guess is what it will be. The Texans will, on the other side, be able to take advantage of, the fact that they're going to have to run the ball maybe a little bit more in bad weather with a much better running game. So who was it that compared Carlos Hyde to Earl Campbell?
It's Dan Fouts.
Dan Fouts. So Earl Campbell, Deshaun Watson, they're getting less than 3 points. You got to take them.
Yep.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.